Memphis, Tennessee. Sun Studios. October 14th, 1958. 3:17 a.m. The building is supposed to be empty. Security guards have gone home. Cleaning crew finished hours ago. But there's a light on in Studio A. And if you listen carefully, you can hear something that will break your heart. A voice. Raw. Broken. Singing gospel songs like his life depends on it. Elvis Presley sits alone at the piano, still wearing the black suit from his mother's funeral 3 weeks ago. Tears streaming down his face, singing Precious Lord the way Thomas Dorsey wrote it, the way Mahalia Jackson sang it, the way his mama used to hum it when he was scared as a little boy. But Elvis isn't performing for anyone. He's not recording for anyone. He's just singing to God, and to his mama, and to whatever part of himself died when she did. What you're about to discover is the story of the 12 gospel songs Elvis recorded in secret over the next 19 years. Songs so personal, so raw, so spiritually naked that he made everyone who heard them swear they'd never be released. Songs that made hardened music executives break down crying in the studio. Songs that revealed Elvis Presley's soul in ways Hound Dog and Love Me Tender never could. This is the gospel according to Elvis, the sacred music he kept hidden from the world. Until now. To understand why Elvis kept these recordings secret, you have to understand what gospel music meant to him. It wasn't entertainment. It was survival. Elvis Aaron Presley was born into poverty in Tupelo, Mississippi. No money, no prospects, no hope except what came from the Assembly of God Church on Adams Street. Every Sunday, little Elvis would sit in those wooden pews and listen to gospel singers pour their souls out to God. The Blackwood Brothers, the Statesman Quartet, voices that could raise the dead and heal the broken. Gospel was Elvis's first musical language. Before rock and roll, before country, before anything else. Gospel taught him that music could be medicine, that singing could be praying, that a voice could carry more than just words. It could carry pain, hope, desperation, and faith all at once. When Gladys Presley died in August 1958, Elvis didn't just lose his mother. He lost his anchor, his protector, his biggest fan. The woman who believed he was special when the whole world called him a freak. He was 23 years old, the biggest star on the planet, and completely lost. That's when he started the secret sessions. October 14th, 1958. Elvis couldn't sleep. Hadn't slept properly since the funeral. He drove to Sun Studios at 3 a.m. and used his key. Sam Phillips had never taken it back. He sat at that piano and started playing the songs his mama loved. Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Peace in the Valley. He knows just what I need. But something happened when Elvis sang alone, with no audience, no recording equipment, no pressure to be the Elvis Presley everyone expected. His voice broke open, vulnerable, desperate, real. Jerry Lee Lewis, who happened to be walking by, heard the singing through the walls. Years later, he said, I stood outside that studio for 2 hours listening to Elvis sing gospel like I'd never heard before, like he was talking directly to God. I was afraid to interrupt because I thought I was hearing something sacred. That's when Elvis realized he needed to capture these moments. Not for albums, not for fans, for himself, for his mama's memory, for the part of his soul that only came alive when he sang to God. So he made a deal with Sam Phillips and later with RCA engineers. Secret recording sessions. Just Elvis, a piano, sometimes a guitar, and the tape rolling. The engineers were sworn to secrecy. The sessions weren't logged. The tapes were locked away. Elvis called them his prayers and music. Between 1958 and 1977, Elvis recorded 12 complete gospel songs in these secret sessions. Not demo versions, not rough sketches. Complete, fully realized spiritual journeys. Each one more emotionally devastating than the last. Let me tell you about the 12 hidden tracks. Track 1, Mama's Last Prayer. October 1958. Elvis wrote this himself 3 weeks after Gladys died. It's him imagining his mother's final prayer for him. The engineer, Bob Johnson, said Elvis sang it 47 times before he got through it without breaking down completely. Track 2, When I Get Home. December 1959. Not about Graceland, about heaven, about seeing Gladys again. Elvis's voice cracks on every chorus. You can hear him crying between verses. Track 3, Forgive Me, Lord. March 1961. Elvis confessing to God about the pills, the women, the money, the fame that was eating him alive. So raw that the engineer stopped recording twice because he thought it was too personal. Track 4, Little Boy Blue Gospel. August 1962. Elvis turning his own childhood pain into a spiritual plea. About growing up poor and finding God in suffering. The most autobiographical song he ever recorded. Track 5, Gladys's Lullaby. January 1965. Elvis singing the songs his mother used to sing to him when he was sick or scared. His voice sounds like a little boy again, heartbreaking. Track 6, 7 Years of Sorrow. April 1967. About the time between his mother's death and recording this song. 7 years of fame, money, movies, and emptiness. Looking for peace he can't find. Track 7, God's Only Son. December 1968. Recorded right after the '68 comeback special. Elvis comparing his relationship with his fans to Christ's relationship with humanity. The weight of being worshipped when you feel human. Track 8, Valley of the Shadow. June 1971. Based on Psalm 23. Elvis walking through his own valley of death. Divorce, pills, isolation. Looking for the shepherd who will lead him home. Track 9, Priscilla's Prayer. August 1973. About his failed marriage. Elvis praying for forgiveness, praying for her happiness, praying for their daughter Lisa Marie. Devastatingly honest about his failures as a husband. Track 10, The Prodigal King. November 1975. Elvis seeing himself as the prodigal son. Rich, famous, lost, wanting to come home to God, but not knowing how. The longest track at 8 minutes and 23 seconds. Track 11, When the Music Stops. April 1977. About death. About what comes after the applause ends. Elvis contemplating his mortality just months before he died. Prophetic and haunting. Track 12, Thank You for the Cross. July 16th, 1977. The final track. Recorded exactly 1 month before Elvis died. A simple thank you to God for everything. The pain, the joy, the music, the suffering, the love. Elvis's last prayer put to music. Each one of these songs had the same effect on everyone who heard them. Tears. Not polite tears. Ugly, gut-wrenching sobs. Men who'd worked in music for decades said they'd never heard anything so emotionally naked. Red West, Elvis's bodyguard and friend, was present for the recording of Mama's Last Prayer. He said, I'd seen Elvis perform for presidents and kings, but that night in the studio, I saw Elvis perform for his mother's spirit. For God. For himself. It was the most beautiful and heartbreaking thing I've ever witnessed. Grown men were crying so hard they had to leave the room. But why keep them secret? Why not release gospel albums that could have touched millions? Because to Elvis, these weren't products. They were prayers. You don't sell prayers. You don't commercialize conversations with God. You don't turn your deepest spiritual struggles into entertainment. Elvis had seen what happened when he tried to share his spiritual side publicly. The gospel albums he did release, he touched me. How Great Thou Art, were criticized by some religious people who said rock and roll singers had no business singing sacred music. They were dismissed by rock fans who wanted him to stick to jailhouse rock. So Elvis made a decision. His real, spiritual journey would stay private. The 12 secret tracks would be his personal relationship with God. Unfiltered, uncommercialized, pure. There was another reason. Elvis was terrified these songs revealed too much. His doubts, his struggles with faith, his anger at God for taking his mother, his confusion about why he had been blessed with talent but cursed with isolation. Gospel music was supposed to provide answers. These songs were full of questions. In 1974, Elvis's spiritual advisor, Larry Geller, asked him about releasing the secret recordings. Elvis said, "Larry, those songs aren't for the world. They're between me and God, and me and Mama. Some things are too sacred to share. The moment I put them out there, they stop being prayers and become performances. I won't do that to them." But Elvis did share them with a select few. Close friends going through hard times, fellow musicians struggling with fame. People who needed to hear that even Elvis Presley questioned God. Sometimes, everyone who heard them was sworn to secrecy, and everyone kept that promise. Until 1982, 5 years after Elvis died. Bob Johnson, the engineer who recorded most of the secret sessions, was dying of cancer. He felt compelled to tell someone about the 12 tracks before he took the secret to his grave. He called Rolling Stone magazine. "I recorded Elvis for 15 years, Johnson told the reporter. His biggest hits, his movie soundtracks, everything. But the most important music Elvis ever made, nobody has heard. 12 gospel songs that showed his soul. Songs that made me believe in God again just from hearing them. Elvis is gone. The world deserves to know about this part of him." The story was published in March 1982. Elvis's secret gospel sessions, the sacred music he hid from the world. For the first time, the public learned about the 12 tracks. Fans were outraged. "Release the songs. We have the right to hear them." Record executives saw dollar signs. Gospel artists wanted to cover them. Everyone wanted a piece of Elvis's most private moments. But the Presley estate said no. Lisa Marie Presley, now 14 years old, made a statement through her lawyer. "My father kept these recordings private because they were sacred to him. They will remain sacred. Some things matter more than money or curiosity. These songs are staying where Daddy wanted them, between him and God." And that's where they remain today, in the Graceland Vault. 12 gospel songs that could change how the world sees Elvis Presley. 12 prayers in music that show his deepest spiritual struggles and triumphs. 12 tracks that made grown men cry because they revealed the human being behind the legend. Will they ever be released? Probably not. Should they be? That's a question each fan has to answer for themselves. Is our curiosity about Elvis more important than his desire for spiritual privacy? What we do know is this. Elvis Aaron Presley wasn't just the king of rock and roll. He was a man who struggled with faith, who talked to God through music, who found comfort in gospel songs when the world became too much to bear. The 12 secret tracks proved that behind the jumpsuits and the fame and the legend was a boy from Tupelo who missed his mama and was trying to find his way home to God. Maybe that's the most important thing about Elvis we never knew. Not that he could sing rock and roll, but that he could pray through music. And sometimes, that's exactly what the world needs to hear, even if we're not supposed to. The music is bigger than any of us. But the stories? The stories are what keep the music alive. Subscribe for more. Hit like if this touched you. And remember, behind every legend is a human who loved, who hurt, who tried. Just like you. Just like me. Thanks for watching.